Hello everybody, it's Daniel here, bringing you the GameX.io preview for LawBreakers today. I feel like I should just get a lineup of criminals, show them off, and call it a day. There you go, there's your LawBreakers, we're done here. But let's not do that. LawBreakers is a class-based FPS set in anti-gravity. Being developed by Boss Key Productions and being directed by the legendary Cliff B, this game is set to be one of the major class-based FPS games of 2016. I got a chance to play the game for myself over the weekend, and I sunk a good number of hours into it. So let's start talking with the game's signature mechanic, the anti-gravity. In both the control points and battery game modes that were available in this alpha build, there are large anti-gravity zones set in the center of each map. You'll know when you've entered them because they're quite clearly marked, and you have a bit of a distortion effect on screen and a sound cue, and you're also going to be entering anti-gravity. Unless you happen to be playing from the International Space Station, you're gonna notice it. What makes the anti-gravity significant is that it enables three-dimensional combat and places a lot of emphasis on momentum. Depending on the speed and angle that you enter each anti-gravity zone at, you're going to be propelled one direction over the others as your momentum carries you. And to assist you in moving about this, every class has some sort of movement mechanic for a quick boost of speed that will propel you in a different direction or cause you to come to a sudden stop. There's jetpacks, grapples, sprints, and a stun that will all change your direction and increase your momentum one way or another. It makes for a truly unique style of momentum-based gameplay of quick, fast, moving encounters. But this only really works after you've practiced and gotten used to these mechanics. Despite the game's handy tooltips on the class selection screen that detail the intricacies of every class, there's so much detail and additional layers to each individual mechanic that it can be somewhat overwhelming to process it all. For instance, the Enforcer Sprint is not only a sprint, but it's an aura effect that also affects allies, enables double jumps, and increases fire rate and reload speed. Now, while this is a nice iteration on an otherwise quite simple standard mechanic, when you're trying to process all of this information as you're entering an anti-gravity zone and attempting to work out your proximity to your allies on a three-dimensional plane, as well as try and capitalize on all of these additional perks to the effect, it's a bit confusing when you're actually supposed to use it effectively. And if you compound this on top of ability creating temporary gravity fields, proximity mines with additional effects when they detonate, remote detonation rockets, and a host of other widely varied and interesting mechanics to use with multiple layers of depth and detail, it's quite confusing to process everything. As much as I love the graphics and solid visual feedback and cues for my attacks and for those of others, my first hour of the game was actually quite frustrating because of this. I felt like I couldn't contribute to my team effectively in any capacity because I didn't fully understand an overwhelming amount of information that was being thrown at me between anti-gravity zones and regular zones. Because bear that in mind through all of this, you're going to be hopping between the three-dimensional combat and in sort of standard, more classic FPS gameplay. It's incredibly fun, but it's an awful lot to take in, and I feel like it might be a bit of an issue for a lot of players. I have some friends who also tried the alpha this weekend, and it was a sticking point for them. They simply couldn't get a handle on the amount of things happening in the games. But if you're willing to put a lot of hours into this game and truly learn how the momentum-based combat works, it's an awful lot of fun, and I greatly enjoyed my time with the alpha past my first couple of hours with it. Even with only 4 classes available and 2 game modes, there was a lot of variety in mechanics and gameplay styles, and the anti-gravity momentum, while tough to handle, is solidly executed and really refreshing. I can't think of any other titles that do something like this. The UI has a few rough patches currently because alpha is alpha, but thankfully the in-game heads-up display is clean and crisp, so no issues there. If you're looking for a fresh spin on the classic FPS and are willing to invest a lot of time, then LawBreakers is certainly worth checking out. You can sign up for the alpha access on their site at lawbreakers.com for a chance to grab a key, and the full game is expected to release for later this summer. Thank you so much for watching this alpha preview of LawBreakers, and be sure to subscribe to our channel, GameX, for more gaming coverage in the future. Also be sure to check out our site at GameX.io to find new gaming recommendations. We're currently in our alpha as well, and we aim to be a fully fledged cross-platform games recommendation platform when we're finished. Thank you so much for watching this video once again. I've been Daniel, and I hope you enjoyed this.
Your side is charging the battery.
You are doomed from the start.